This video will take you around a large commercial property and show you the various repairs I encountered. This job is a church property I do biannual inspection and repairs at. I always block off 4 hours for it, and usually it's enough. But this time I only got halfway through the property because of the extensive repairs that were needed. I returned it the following week in hopes of finishing it up. I have stitched all 3 visits together for you on this one video. 2 of the repairs were from big tree roots pushing against the pop-up risers and breaking them. This property has many liquid amber trees, aka sweet gums, and the roots have become a menace. This pop-up riser got broken too from a large root pushing against it, so I had to chop it out with my trusty axe. I used this easy out tool to attempt to get the broken off riser out of the elbow. The riser was disintegrating inside the elbow and wouldn't screw out, so I had to replace the elbow. When I do things like this, I usually make improvements while I'm at it, so I installed this swing arm assembly along with a new pop-up. On this large church property, there, at one time, every valve was wired up to a timer that's in that building over there. But over time, wires broke under the asphalt, and they haven't wanted to go to the cost of cutting and repairing the wiring. So we've got some of these valves on battery-operated timers, these node timers. This is a 2-station to operate the valve that's in there, and this one here. And there's a couple of nodes over in the island. So this one here was completely covered in dirt. See all the gopher activity? So I had to unbury it, and when I turned the system on here to do my inspection, this line would come on, but this one, as you can see, has not been on in quite a while. So I figured with this gopher activity, the gopher probably chewed through the wire. Once I got the dirt scooped out of here, I found that they had chewed through the wire. Actually, both wires. Water was boiling out right here, and I'm digging this up and got roots I had to cut through right here from this liquid amber tree, or sweet gum as you call it in the Midwest and back east. This is probably a tall pop-up, and it's cemented in. Brilliant. So I don't know what's broken down there, but it's probably the riser. Guessing at this point, that's usually what it is. So I'll dig down further and see if I can find where the break is. If I can't get to it, I'm going to have to bust out that concrete. Alright, I got cut through a bunch of roots. This is all roots in here and over here. But I got this cleared away enough where I could see. Here's the pipe, obviously. And this, I felt back here and I could feel that it's an elbow going straight up to this. And as you can see here, I cleared all the dirt away. This is concreted in. You guys, when you pour concrete, do something to shield around the whole assembly so that you're not pouring concrete. Eventually this is going to have to be replaced. So be considerate and don't do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut back here and put a new elbow on like I did on that other assembly over there, and put a new pop-up in here. We're not actually using one right now in this spot, but we need it here for future use. I put the tip of that shovel blade against this pop-up here and then gave it one swift kick, and it popped this out, and you can see now why the water was boiling out. This is cracked vertically there. And I cut that elbow out, so I'll glue the new one on and put a new pop-up on there. I'm just going to put a shut-off nozzle on there for now. Make sure you put a screen under it. The purpose for the screen in this situation with this shut-off nozzle is as a seal. If you don't put that in there, this can leak. Sometimes the pin, sometimes that lever gets stuck in here where it doesn't belong. So you just have to pull it up and get it back there where it belongs. And then adjust it. Top obviously broken off of this one. But it's good for showing you what needs to be done. If you want your maxi pause to go 360, then just pull that little lever up into the horizontal position, and then it won't hit either of the stops. Here is the Irritable MC24 Plus controller I mentioned before. It's in a utility closet. At one time, it operated around 20 valves, but with all the broken wires under the asphalt, it only does 4 now. You can see my marking flags perched there that they can use to mark broken sprinklers for me. I also have their station programming spreadsheet in a clear sleeve on top of the timer. That gets updated and a new one printed out every time there's a major change like a timer replacement. This sheet is more complicated looking than most I create because this property has 4 AC timers and 5 battery operated timers. On these Irritable MC timers, on these older ones, there is no place to connect a remote unless you get an expensive thing that costs a lot of money, and it's not, for me it's not cost prohibitive, but I think it plugs into here. Not 100% sure. This is where your 9-volt battery plugs in. That needs to be changed about once a year. If you have an MC timer that has a blue interface, then it can take the small remote that I use, which you can use on rain dial timers. To do my inspections, I have to run it manually from the timer here. And first we want to start with number 1, which is the main lawn. And this has to be in the manual position. You hit number 1 and the manual button, and you see it lights up and it shows number 1 is lit up, so we know that number 1 is running. And then this will beep, you'll hear it in a moment. It's a reminder that, yep, there you go. It's a reminder that it's on manual. It'll do that every, I don't know, 30, 60 seconds, something like that. So let's go look. As these wear out, I'm replacing them with the PGP Ultras. I think all of these PGPs on this property I've installed over the last 12 years or whatever. We have a situation here where we've got this little patch of lawn, and we're trying to keep as much water off of the sign here as possible. So these only go to about here, and then we let the wind blow water into this. Same on this side here, on that side. And then I installed these MP rotators. Well, my son Josh and I installed these MP rotators right in here. These have the same runtime need as these do, so it's fine to have them on the same line. And you can see the grass is nice and green in here. Before, that was all brown. And then we have another PGP right there. eventually that spring wears out and it won't cause that lever to kick back. You can replace that spring if you want. If you have an old one of these sprinklers that you can get it off of, but I don't think you can buy the parts anymore. We used to repair these things back in the day when these were pretty much all we had, before the gear-driven rotor sprays like PGPs were around. But to adjust this, you just pull it or push it. If you want it to do a 360, you just pull this lever up, and now it won't kick against anything, and it'll do a 360. Sometimes this lever will get stuck on one of these, or it'll get stuck. It'll get stuck right here inside of one of these lever things. So all you have to do is just pull it up, move it where it belongs. If the top breaks off, I'm not aware of any way to reattach it. To adjust the distance, there's a screw right here, and you can turn that left or right. If you turn it counterclockwise, it will open the distance, so it'll let it spray further. If you want it a shorter distance, then obviously turn it the other direction. Turn it clockwise. And you can see hopefully you can see the point of the screw there, yeah. And this thing that I'm holding right here to keep it from spraying is called the hammer. Sometimes these hammers break off, usually if they get stepped on, if the sprinkler gets stepped on or run over. We just had some trees taken out, so maybe they, I don't know. Okay, it's not full of sand, that's good. I don't remember which one of these valve boxes is the right one. I think I have it diagrammed, but I didn't look. Still nothing coming on, so we may have a diaphragm that's gone bad on us in that valve. Oh, they're trying. But they should have popped right up. Some of these have been turned off because they're just spraying dirt. Okay, well, this is still active from the timer, so I'm going to turn this off. And yeah, see, there's nothing. So it could be this Omni Ridge that's giving us trouble. It's worked fine for years. I put this on here because the water pressure is super, super high here. And it was cracking sprinkler valves and stuff. The wires are stuck down there, and I need to pull them up to see what the connections are like. So I don't have any indication that we're actually getting juice to the solenoid. I got enough dug out with the trowel and my hand to get to the connections, and the connections are fine. There's one there, one right there. So I'm gonna have to run a test from the timer and see if we're even getting juice out here. Maybe we've got a broken wire somewhere else between here and there. We're going to do the test using this Amprobe AM420 multi-tester. We're going to put the black probe on the common and the red one on the number 5 terminal while it's activated, and see if we get a reading on here. If we do, then we'll turn this off and do another reading to see what the amperage is running through it. See if we're getting connectivity to the valve. On this timer, the common is right there where the white wire is, and you can see the number 5 terminal right there, and there's our results. So we do have power at the terminal. So now I'll turn this off, hitting the manual button there, and now we're gonna change it to the amperage. We put it on that setting, and I'll go down the common and number 5, and you see we're getting nothing. So we've got a broken wire somewhere between the timer and the solenoid. So we'll get a wire tracer out here and see if we can find that break and hopefully fix it. Hopefully it's not under the asphalt, because then we'll end up having to put a battery operated timer on there, because they're not going to want to pay to cut the asphalt. Next we're going to do number 10. Double digits should do it the same way. 1, 0, manual. Already I see got a problem here. The bonnet has split. So mark this. These agapanthus have come up wild from this side over here, and they should be moved. You don't want those right up against the concrete like that. Another one here. Number 10 also includes drip along here, and wow, what a big hole. We got a problem with that retro. Looks like it's busted. I have to put a new one in. These are super cheapy emitters, and I don't think they make them anymore, but over time they get super brittle, snap off, and they get hit. Got some issues in here. That emitter's not open. Neither's that one. It's one of those cheapy ones I just talked about, and there's no water coming out of it. This area here gets mostly shade. All the sun it gets is super early morning sun when it first comes out and shines in here. So you can see how the agapanthus flowers are leaning out to the sun. They've had a lot of other plants in here initially, but they've all died off from lack of sun and some watering issues. It looks neat from the outside, how they're leaning out. This swivels here, so I don't have to deal with this. Just turn this. And just for the fun of it, I don't need to replace this body. I could just replace the guts, but that plastic's getting older, and I'm just gonna replace it with a fresh one. The screen has a bunch of sand on it, but I can take that off, keep that in my truck in case I need to replace one on a job, clean it up. And there we go with the new one. Not sure what was going on with this one. I wiggled it back and forth and couldn't see anything obvious. It wasn't broken real bad, but it was obviously broken. So in replacing this bonnet, all I got to do is push this soil down. It's sandy soil, so in this case it's easy to push down. Get it cleared away so that when I take that bonnet off, none of this muddy water will drain back into the pop-up body. Six-inch pop-up. Here's the new bonnet. I compress it, the assembly against my leg or against the concrete, whatever, and I take the nozzle off, and I take the bonnet off, still holding the spring, and put the new bonnet on it like so, and then put the nozzle on like so, and then we can let that up and we can put it back in. Look at how the nozzles is situated so that you're putting it in correctly. Those ribs down there fit into slots. You can always ratchet it if it's not quite right, but at least get it close. Okay. Close to being lined up. I'll adjust it once I turn the water back on. Let's look here to see where it's split. It's split right above my thumb. I put a new button emitter on there. I put a 360 adjustable emitter on there and just stuck it in the center of this for now. I didn't realize I was out of the 180s on those. So next time I come, I'll put a 180 on it and I'll put it back down here where it belongs. I don't want this plant growing over that tubing and swallowing it. Remember the number 5 valve that had the bad wiring back at the beginning? Well, the wire tracing guy came out and found that the wire was indeed broken under the asphalt. So I installed a node timer on the valve and buried the area. He had dug a huge hole to do his work. Before I returned to do this, I was called about a broken pop-up in the island lawn, so I dealt with that. Look at those roots from the nearby liquid amber tree. I replaced the busted nozzle and bonnet and cleaned all those roots out of it, and it was working great. Why didn't I replace the entire pop-up? Because it was encased in huge roots, so I would have opened a Pandora's box by attempting that, and it would have cost the church a lot more money, so as long as I can make this work correctly, we're good to go. This is part of the repair process you gotta consider and be flexible about, or you'll make way more work for yourself and cost the client way more money than is necessary sometimes. Don't do shoddy work, but be reasonable at the same time. This isn't life or death, it's just a matter of getting the irrigation system to work right. I hope you learned from the commercial inspection and repair video. Let me know in the comment section below. See you next time.
I know. Don't rub your hands.